Now, I know Mr. Snell just mentioned how old we are, and I'm going to stand in front of it. How old is Wetherby School this year? Brilliant, lots of hands up. James. It is 75 years old this year. So, some big celebrations are in order, and you already know a variety of the different things that we're going to be doing at Wetherby. Now, today is a very exciting day because we're having the first of our special talks. Now, we're calling them Teddy Talks. Some of you might have heard of TED Talks, and if you're not sure, I'm sure your parents have heard what TED Talks are. And what we're doing is we are inviting various different people into Wetherby who were at Wetherby themselves. So if you think about you sitting here now, all of our visitors that are going to be coming in were once sitting exactly where you are now. And it would have been a few years ago, but we'll be intrigued to hear how much the school has changed and to be able to compare what it's like today when you're at school and for all of our different visitors what it was like when they were at school as well. Now, our visitor today, who is joining us, is called Alex Chalk. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
And you are going to hear, I'm not the best person to say it, you're going to hear all about what Alex does and what he did and things like that. And you'll see a video, you'll hear lots of different things. And we've got some boys who are going to be asking questions, who will be sitting in these big comfortable chairs to ask a few questions and to find out a little bit more. Now, as you know, we're also joined by the Wetherby Bear. Was the Wetherby Bear here when...
It wasn't, no bear. This is an upgrade.
Oh, there we go. And we've upgraded the jacket as well.
Yeah.
We need to kind of change the uniform every few years because it does get a little bit worn and tatty.
Okay.
But I'll let you introduce yourself.
Great.
And get started.
Well, look, I tell you what, I am so excited to be here because I was sitting exactly where you are quite a long time ago. But you know the difference was that when we rode up, sort of lined up, we went with the backs to the wall there and we faced this way. So who knew? So actually, since I've left, you've moved through 90 degrees, but that, apart from that, that is the only change. So look, I'm going to say a little bit about what I do. So I was at school here, and as I say, ranged up this way, and I used to sit just up the back there by that far locker where you are, and down here was somebody who then became very famous, a guy called Benedict Cumberbatch. Do you remember, have anyone heard of him? The parents will have heard of him. Anyway, had a great time. And then went to school called Westminster Under School, and then went off to university. I did history, boring. Became a lawyer, a barrister. Does anyone here know what a barrister is? God, what do you think it is?
My dad
Is he? Is he a good one? Very good, there you go, that's good. And what does a barrister do? Has anyone got an idea? What do you think? Have a think about it. Do you know what barristers might wear on their heads when they're in court? You know because your daddy's one. What do you think?
Some sort of head thing.
Some sort of head thing is absolutely right. Can we do any better than that?
A cat, which is
A cat.
A hat.
It's a bit like a hat, but do you know what it is? It's called a wig, and it's made out of horsehair. And anyway, you go into court and you say, right, this is my client, I'm going to act for them. Or in fact, what I used to do was criminal cases. So if someone was accused of doing something really naughty, then I might be saying to the judge and the jury, they're very naughty, so that person should be punished. That's effectively what I was doing. Anyway, then I became something called an MP. Does anyone here know what an MP is?
A person in Parliament.
Brilliant. Very good, well done. Anyway, and I'm going to ask one other question. So when you become a member of Parliament, you go somewhere where there's a big, beautiful clock, and inside there's a big bell, and there's a big tower. Does anyone know what that place is called? What is it?
Big Ben.
Big Ben. That's amazing. So then I was there for a bit, and then once you've been an MP for somewhere called Cheltenham, beautiful places, lots of horse racing going on if you're interested in horse racing. I'll take your question in a second. And then, whilst I was there, I was asked to be the Lord Chancellor. And do you know who actually appoints the Lord Chancellor? Who do you think is the most important person in the whole country? The King. It was actually the King. So what we're going to look at now is one of the things that the Lord Chancellor does in Parliament. Okay, so hopefully we can make the thing play. And if it doesn't play, this is entirely my fault, not anyone else's. So this, this is taken just so we might have dimmed the lights a little bit. Should we just pop the lights up? That's perfect. Okay, now just before we play. Here we go. Just pause for a second. Okay, I need a pointer, don't I? The pointer will have to be me. So, let's just have a little look for a sec. These here, all these guys, are members of the House of Lords, all right? That is the Speaker of the House of Commons, a guy called Lindsay Hoyle, and you might be able to see a few people in the background. That guy is now Prime Minister, but then he was Leader of the Opposition. That guy is nobody now, but he was once Prime Minister. He was once Prime Minister, that's Rishi Sunak. Yes, very good. And then some of my former colleagues. He's a pain in the neck, we won't talk about him. And then it's Angela Rayner, all these people. Now, what you're about to see is the camera will start looking down towards the throne, and you will see the King and the Queen on the throne, and then you'll see this guy walking along, bowing, and passing the King something. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. So let's just watch out for that. So here we go. Oh, who else can I spot? We've got Suella Braverman.
Yeah, almost making a show out of not making a show.
Keir Starmer, yeah. Okay, King, Queen. Now, watch that guy. Watch that guy, okay? Here he goes, here he goes. 1, 2, 3, turn, bow. 1.
So it's the Lord Chancellor, I believe, delivering the speech to the monarch.
Watch me go backwards down the steps, guys. Here we go.
Kneeling.
And that's it. Right, end of the thing. Okay, that was my entire achievement in politics. There you go, walking backwards down the throne. So no, there's an important point there. So they're the King and the Queen in Parliament, because what the King does, we'll come to questions in a sec, what the King is doing is he reads out a speech setting out all the things that the government is going to do, and the Lord Chancellor provides that speech to him. But what the Lord Chancellor also does, shall I tell you, is in charge of all the prisons, all the courts, all something called probation, which is really boring. And also, you do things like, if bishops come to be bishops, the Lord Chancellor swears the bishop in and so on. So that's something that I did. And also when I was in Parliament, before I was Lord Chancellor, I was something called Minister for Defence Procurement. So that means where you go and get all the weapons and things like that, and you give them to our friends like Ukrainians, and tanks and missiles and all those sorts of things. So you're involved in the Ministry of Defence. So that gives you an indication of the sorts of things I do. But just before we move on and we move to questions, I'll just say this. As an MP, does anyone have an idea of kind of what the job of an MP is? What do you think it is? Don't know? What do you think?
Missile passer.
What's that?
Missile passer.
Could be, yeah.
Like he brings some loads of people that say that if they need something.
So do you know what? That is a brilliant answer. So your job as the MP is to represent, so to speak for about 80,000 people, and if people have a problem that they can't fix, they will come to me to see if I can sort it out. If people think that our country should be going in a different direction, that direction, they might come to me and they say, look, I want you to speak about that in Parliament, and I have to say, do I agree with that person? Or do I disagree with that person? And if I agree, then I will go into Parliament, I will stand up, and I will speak on their behalf to try to fix things for them and their family, and also to push the country in what we perceive to be the right direction. So that's kind of what it's about. And as I say, and then sometimes you get to hang out with the King as well. So that's quite fun. That is basically it, in a nutshell, of what it is to be a member of Parliament. Okay? So how do you want to do it now? Should we bring them up and have some questions? Okay. Here we go. This is very exciting. You're just going to ask about Benedict Cumberbatch, aren't you? Right. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Now, yes, we do have a selection of boys who have got some questions prepared. So, I think our first boy is Felix.
Looking very sporty. Right, go ahead. What's your question?
I'm on the school council currently. Were you on your school council when you were at school?
Was I on my school council when I was at school? Well, we didn't have a school council. Do you know what? So this is a massive improvement. By the way, can I say, Felix, when I'm talking to you, I'm just reminding myself, it's all the memories are coming flooding back. And I remember when there were some teachers here, I think they thought we were being a bit noisy, and they made us play Sleeping Lions in this room. I remember that very well. I also remember drinking milk upstairs. And anyway, all these things I remember. But we did not have a school council, and I think it's really good that you're doing it so that you can raise things that you think are important and try and influence. You know what I mean by influence? To change things and to try to argue for things. So that's really important. Go ahead. Yeah?
What's your leadership style?
My leadership style? My God, that's a great question. Well, do you know what? Let me tell you what happens. When you become Lord Chancellor, you walk into Downing Street. Downing Street is the home of the, does anyone know? Prime Minister, exactly. So you walk in and you go down, you open the big black door and you go down the corridor and you go to the cabinet room at the end, and there you've got the Prime Minister and someone called the Chief Whip and a photographer. And you suddenly realise that you're taking on a big responsibility. And so I had to be driven from there to my department, which is called the Ministry of Justice. And there you're responsible for 90,000 people. 90,000 people work for you. And so my leadership style was to be really clear about what I wanted to do. That's the first point, is to be really clear so that the people who are working for you know where you want to go. That's number one. The second thing that's really important is be fair. You have to be really fair to people. So if somebody is, I had a situation where somebody might have given me kind of like bad advice, hadn't they? So instead of me standing up and being kind of mean to them in public, I would say, well, let's just wait a second, clear the room, and then I'd speak to them privately and say, listen, we need to fix that. We need to make sure that that works properly in the future. So that's about being fair and trying to show people that you will lead in a way that if people work hard, they'll do well. If they don't, they'll be treated in a kind and reasonable way, even if you're going to make sure the standards set very high. So I think that's the second thing that's really important. And the third thing about leadership is lead by example, work harder than everyone else, be more committed than everyone else, be more determined than everyone else. And then people look to you as the guy who is the engine room of the whole operation. Does that make sense? Okay, great.
Now we've got Nathan in year 2 who's got some questions.
Hi, Nathan. Oh, wow. Do you know what, this shirt, the jumpers are exactly the same. I think I've probably got one at home somewhere. Anyway. Right. What's your question, Nathan?
What's the trickiest problem you have ever solved?
That's a great question. The question was, what's the trickiest problem I have ever solved? Well, as the Member of Parliament, I came in and there was this really, really tricky problem that parents couldn't send their children to a local school because the 2 ones that were close by were what's called oversubscribed. So there were too many kids. So they were having to send their children miles and miles and miles away, and they were really unhappy about it. And that was a very difficult problem because I thought, there aren't enough places. So what I did is I argued for a new school to be built, and it was going to cost £40 million. And everyone said to me, it's not possible. You're never going to get £40 million for little old Cheltenham to get a new school. But I fought, and I fought, and I fought, and I argued and argued and argued, and eventually the school got built. And it is now the most brilliant school. It's probably the best school in Cheltenham, where I'm from. It's Ofsted, which is kind of the people who regulate all this stuff. They said it's outstanding, a fantastic head teacher. And I drive past it, or I cycle past, and I think that would not have happened without a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, and a lot of ambition for the people I represented. But it was a very tricky problem to solve because there wasn't a huge amount of money at the time.
What is your proudest achievement to date?
I think my proudest achievement probably was, well, when I came in, I was Lord Chancellor, so you got the wig and big important position. And it became clear that there were these people called sub-postmasters, which won't mean anything to you, but people who work in post offices. And there was an IT system, a computer system, that had gone wrong. And the computer system had said to these people working in the post office that you've been taking money from the post office, which wasn't true. And these people were so upset. And some of them even went to prison for a crime they hadn't committed. Can you imagine how awful that is? Really, really dreadful. And anyway, I made the decision, together with the Prime Minister, that we were going to what's known as quash their convictions, which in normal English means to get rid of their convictions so that they went from being criminals to being free. And so that everyone could see in the whole wide world that they had done nothing wrong, which in grown-up speak, they'd cleared their names, okay? And that was something I was proud of because there were lots of people who said, well, you can't do that. You can't just sort of scrap people's convictions. That's got to go through the courts and all that stuff. But I said, no, this is such an unusual set of circumstances. There are 900 people who should not have been convicted. And I took that decision, and I know that there are people who are now able to live their lives fully again without having that cloud hanging over them. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of stuff I did in Cheltenham to make a cyber park, a new road scheme. I got a homelessness shelter, the new school that I talked about, stopped sewage going into my local river. There's lots of things that I'm really proud of and I work really hard on. But I think the single biggest impact is quashing the convictions of 900 people. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you very much, Nathan.
Hi, JJ. I see we're having different uniforms here. We've had sporty, we've had... Right, here we go. Go for it.
Have you learned from any of your marvellous mistakes?
Have I learned from any of my marvellous mistakes? Of course I have. And you know, I imagine that one of the things that you will be told a lot, JJ and everyone here, is that mistakes are just an opportunity to learn and to progress. And there are two things I'd say. First of all, sometimes when you make a mistake, you think, well, I wouldn't do things that way again. But also what you learn is that you get a bit tougher, you get a bit stronger, and that's really, really important. So let me think about some mistakes that I've made. I think, I had a situation. That's probably a bit too much of a grown-up example. I know, I've got an example for you. So we have a river in Cheltenham, which is called the River Chelt. And the River Chelt had water companies pouring something quite yucky into it called sewage. Horrible, 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 which we think is yucky. And so I had to think, well, how am I going to try to solve that problem? And initially, I went and spoke to them and said, look, pretty please, with the cherry on top, please can you fix this? And that didn't work. They said, no, we're not going to put the money in. And I realised, I'd made a mistake. And the problem with that is I'd said to my constituents, I will fix this problem. I will stop it happening. And then I realised I'd made a mistake because the approach that I was taking hadn't worked. And so people were criticising me. They said, well, look, it hasn't succeeded, has it? So I sat and I thought, what am I going to do? And I changed my approach. And in effect, I said to the head of this company called Severn Trent, I said that, look, they were going to have to fix it, and if they didn't, I was effectively going to have to talk about them in Parliament and say, listen, this is totally outrageous, and so on and so forth. So I changed my approach, and ultimately they put £1 million in, and they solved the problem, and everything was fixed. So that was a situation where, having got something wrong, I learned my lesson and fixed the problem.
What's your favourite sport or hobby?
Well, sport and hobby are not necessarily the same thing. So my favourite hobby probably is, I like going running, which is a bit boring, but I like it because I can listen to a podcast and it's just quiet time and I can just think about everything else going on in the world. So I like that. Sport, I really enjoy water sport. I enjoy windsurfing, if any of you enjoy windsurfing, but I'm quite old now. But I used to teach it when I was about 21, and I've stayed interested in it throughout. So I love that. But basically, riding my bike, running around is sort of a hobby for me. But I don't get a huge amount of time because I've got children, and so they're kind of the hobby. So yesterday, do you know what I did? I took them to Oxford and we went punting on the river there. So that's kind of a hobby, hanging out with your children. Although my 13-year-old daughter thought she was too cool for that and didn't want to get in the boat. But the other two did, and that was fine. Okay, is that all right?
Yeah.
Got the answers? Very good. Okay, so good.
We've got two more boys to go. So Alex T in year 3.
Alex, very good name. Well done, Alex. Hello, what's your question?
What was your favourite thing about Wetherby?
Oh, I loved this school. I have to tell you, I was so happy here. What was my favourite thing? I think, this is going to be boring, but it has the advantage of being true, Alex. I made such good friends here. So I was so happy. I remember being, you kind of think, well, you probably don't, you're a bit young, but the grown-ups here will think back to times in their life and you just have a vibe, you just have a feeling about it. And it was very warm, and I used to spend lovely times after school going to their houses, and the teachers here were really nice. So I remember the head teacher was someone called Miss Blair Turner, and she used to stand at the door as we as we left, and we had to shake hands, and she used to make sure that we did that properly. I remember being really proud of the fact that when I arrived at the school, and I was in that classroom just on the right as you come in, that I had a watch, and I was allowed a watch. Normally you weren't allowed watches in those times, but I could tell the time, and therefore I was allowed a watch. I remember that. I remember there was a real focus here on reading. And so I used to go and sit in a side room just at the top of the stairs on the left, and I'd have kind of 20 minutes a week with someone called Mrs. Russell. It was just a happy place. The other memories are of two quite naughty boys, the Clark twins. I remember they got up to no good and they caused carnage wherever they went. And also other memories being, I don't know whether you're still allowed to use that park, but that you are? Yeah, so running around there is another very, very happy memory. So, I mean, I've been around a while now, but I've had lots of happy periods in my life. But Wetherby definitely is right up there. And my advice to you guys is just look around you and remember stuff and remember how happy you are, because these sorts of memories will stay with you for life, and it's a very, very precious time. Okay, is that it? That's it? Okay, just one question from you, Alex. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
And finally, we've got Aris in year 2.
Here we go, from the front.
2 final questions.
My gosh.
Goes perfectly with what you were just talking about.
Well done, Iris. How old are you?
6.
Wow.
Are you still friends with boys you went to Wetherby with?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So I'm still in touch with a couple that I was at Wetherby with, absolutely. And do you know what? At home, you read very well for a 6-year-old, by the way. I'm very impressed. It's probably why you were chosen. Anyway, what I was going to say is when I'm at home, so I've got a study at home. I've got lots of kind of pictures of fun stuff. And I've got my Wetherby picture there as well. And I look at the picture of people who I was close to then, and I still am. So one guy is a guy called Jason Green. And you know what? When we were younger, we looked identical. And people used to confuse us and used to say we're the same people. And in fact, we both went on to become barristers. And he's now a very successful, what's known as a family law barrister. And I was a criminal law barrister before joining Jones Day. And so, yeah, I'm still very much friends with him. And the thing that I remember, of course we're now kind of proper grown-ups, but I remember being out there, the thing about Jason is he could run faster than me. And so whatever we would be doing out there, I knew he was going to be able to catch me in a game of it, and I found that really annoying, but I still remember it to this day. So there you go. You play it, do you? Very good game, yeah, timeless. Go ahead. Anything else?
What was the lunch like at Wetherby? Did you have a favourite?
Do you know what? That's a really good question. I have no recollection of lunch, but I'm not really a foodie. I don't really care about food. So some people, including some of the grown-ups here, will just love thinking about food and planning their next meals. So I see food as fuel. So really it doesn't bother me, and so it doesn't really stick in my memory. The thing that I do remember is milk. We used to have milk, and we used to have these, maybe you still do, glass bottles with the pierced film, with the film at the top, the silver foil, and used to kind of stab the foil with a plastic straw. And I don't know, I remember really that was very, in break times, I used to enjoy that. I think you can probably get fruit now, things have gone up in the world. But it was, oh, and the other thing I should remember, and this is not an answer to your question, but I can tell you, is that piano there was over here. And that's where I used to have my piano lessons with Mrs. Lloyd Webber, who was Andrew Lloyd Webber's mummy. But it was just there. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite as talented as her son, but I definitely remember that happening. Yeah. So I don't know about the food, but I think it was probably okay, because it doesn't really stick in my memory one way or the other. Yeah. There you go. All right.
Well, thank you so much.
Not
Alex,
at all.
for all of your answers and for telling us all about you.
No, it's fine.
I think it's interesting, actually, isn't it, boys? Lots of the things, the memories that you have from being here, haven't changed that much.
No.
So we still go out to Square and play
Yep.
out there. What do you have? What's your snack time called? You can put their hand up to let Alex know what snack time is called. Rocco.
Milk and story.
It's called
Is it?
Milk and Story Time.
Great.
So you still have milk.
Do you?
Absolutely. So
Oh.
all of the boys will be having that at some point today, the option of Milk and Story Time. And it'll be interesting for you to see as you walk
Yeah.
around the school if
Yeah.
the different rooms are still the same. I think it sounds like Mr. Snell's office was a classroom
It was.
before.
It was a classroom, and Mrs. Attard was the teacher, and she was absolutely lovely. No, I definitely remember that. If we've got time, do you want to ask if they've got any other questions? Or no, is that
Would you like
dangerous?
to?
Yes, of course. That's the fun thing, is answering questions. Go on.
Absolutely.
Go on.
What was the classroom called?
I've no idea. I have no idea. Good question, no? Go on.
What was your headmaster called?
She was called Mrs. Blair Turner. And do you know the weird thing was is that when we left, we had to shake hands. We had to shake hands with the left hand. Is that still a Wetherby tradition? No, obviously that's gone. It was a left hand. So yeah, that was really important. So you had to learn to shake hands because the idea was that's part of, you know, being in a society. But the Wetherby take on it was there was a left hand. Yeah, you with your yeah.
Where was the head teacher's office?
Aha. I actually don't even know. Well, the head teacher, you got to remember, so Mrs. Blair Turner was very tall. She was 6 foot tall, and she was just quite scary. And so she just emerged as this presence, and I wouldn't have dreamt of knowing where her office was, because I imagine if you were sent to the office, that would be quite a serious situation. Yeah, yeah.
Did you have any other subjects to math, reasoning, and English?
I don't really remember. Would I have done? I'm not sure. I'm afraid I can't remember. I can't remember. Listen, the trouble is you kind of drained my memory now, so you might have to ask me about being Lord Chancellor. Go on, go ahead.
How did you become Lord Chancellor?
Well, phew, that's tough. I can talk about that. Well, what happens? First of all, you have to become an MP, and then you stand for election. Does anyone here know what an election is? What do you think an election is?
I think it's when votes.
That's it. Very good. So in an election, everyone votes, and the person who gets the most number of votes gets in. And so what happened was, having become an MP and working really hard to defend my constituents and to help them out and to fix their problems and blah, 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 and you do all that voting stuff. And then, when I'd made a few speeches, the Prime Minister thought, he's okay, that guy. He can make a speech. And so he said, first of all, I'd like you to become something called Solicitor General, which is too boring to explain. And then Minister for Defence Procurement. And then he said, I want you to join my cabinet. So when you're in the cabinet, that is the big room where all the most senior people in the government go. And it's basically the decision of the Prime Minister and the appointment of the King, if that makes any sense. Right.
What school did you make?
What?
What school did you make?
Well, it was called the High School Leckhampton. And it's amazing. And it's a state school, and it is incredible. And even now, so I walk around and people come up to me and they say, thank you so much for that school. And the thing about stuff, I don't want to be too kind of pretend to be inspirational, because I'm not, but so many people said to me, it can't be done. You're wasting your time. It'll never happen. And when you actually see that school being built, you see children going into classrooms, it's quite hard to beat something like that. Yeah, you at the back, blonde hair.
What is your favourite subject?
My favourite subject is history. I love history. So I read modern history at university, and I just think it tells stories and it tells stories about the past, which is interesting, but also I put myself in the situation of that Prime Minister or that person, think, what would I have done? What would I have done in that really difficult situation? So whether they're King Richard III or an Anglo-Saxon king or whatever it is, then it's just useful to think about how would you have dealt with that really difficult problem. Who's going to, yeah, go for it.
Was there a year 3 or a year 4 in Wetherby?
I don't know. Would there have been? I'm not sure. All I know is that I left at about 8 or 9, and I went to a school called Westminster Under School in London. And yeah, I can tell you this though, but when I went there, I'd had a really good foundation here. I'd learnt my reading and writing really, really well, and a bit of maths. And that really helped me when I went to that quite challenging school, actually, with lots of clever kids. Go for it. What do you want to ask?
Was your school a boys' school or a girls' school?
Boys, boys, boys. All just boys. And in fact, I only went to, an educational place where there were girls when I was about 18, which probably explains a lot. Right, okay. Yeah, you there with the... Say again? Was there a salad bar?
Yeah.
Do you know you don't like the salad bar, do you? Or do you?
No, because for our salad bar, we also have pasta.
Do you? Okay. Great. Listen, pasta and salad, happy, gives you energy, gives you vitamins. Everyone's a winner. Right, yeah.
How many times did you do BB?
I think, do you know what, I did reading most days because I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. And it was something that I found easier for some reason. It came quite naturally to me. So I really, I did it because I enjoyed it, I hope, unless I'm completely deluded. Maybe I was hopeless. But I kind of really enjoyed it while I was here. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you have 2 teachers or 1 teacher in the classroom?
One. Just one. So that's, you know what, it's a really interesting point. And this might be a bit of a grown-up point. But when I was at school, and indeed throughout my school career, compared to when I would go around schools as an MP, and what was interesting is that the number of teachers per pupil was actually, you just have the one teacher, like teaching assistants didn't exist, none of that stuff happened. You just have like one teacher in there and blah, blah, blah. It's weird. I think that teaching's become more difficult and more complex, but that's probably another story. Yeah, boy with the glasses.
Did you like your teacher or not?
I loved my teacher. They were all so nice. They were also, because you know what you want from a teacher? You want them basically to be nice and friendly. That's great. But what you also want is for them to take an interest in what you're doing and to really try to help you. And if you're finding something that's a bit tricky, you want them to sit down quietly and calmly and explain it. Or if you're somebody who's finding something quite easy, you want them to stretch you a bit. And the thing that the teachers I had here, which is why it's so lucky to be here, you guys are lucky to be here, you really are, is that you will have teachers who want the best for you. That's the most important thing. And I think I even, at your young age, I think I even realized then that they were teachers who were interested in me. And that's a great thing, isn't it? Right, go on then. And with the last couple of questions, because then I've got to go to work. Yep. Did I want to become an MP? Great question. So this is really square. So when I'm going to tell you, when I was six, you asked me a question, you're 6, aren't you? So when I was 6, right, there was stuff going on in the world. I know there's stuff going on now, I'm sorry to say, but then we as a country had gone to war in the Falklands, in the South Atlantic. I was 6 years old, so you can all work out how old I am. Anyway, and then I was really interested in that, and I followed it, and I knew everything about what was going on, and I kind of knew at that point I was really interested in the world around me, and I knew that I kind of wanted to play a part in supporting the country and helping young people and trying to make the country stronger or better or all those sorts of things. So I kind of knew I was interested in people and that I liked people. But then, in fact, when I got older, I became a lawyer and I decided I wanted to be a barrister. And then I only stood for Parliament because there was an opportunity in my hometown and I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring, and I didn't expect to get elected. And I did, even though the bookmaker, you won't know what a bookmaker is, they all thought I was going to lose, and I sort of accidentally won. And then I became an MP. Okay, last question. Who's going to have the last one? Go on, you go for it. Sorry, everyone.
How many boys were in your new school?
In my new school?
Yeah.
The one after this one? I don't know. I think probably about 400. Is that too many? Western Chance School? Maybe about that. Something like that. That'll do. Anyway, listen, folks. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure taking your questions. And enjoy your time at school. You're at a great school. Remember your friends. Value your teachers. Work hard, and you'll do all right. Thank you very much.
Big round of applause for you.